Howdy and welcome to the Confidence Through Health podcast. I'm Jerry Snyder. As an elite level athlete, owner of All In Health and Wellness, and author of the book Confidence Through Health, my goal is to help you achieve your goals and dreams using health as the conduit to get there. I want to say thank you to Social Media Cowboys for sponsoring this week's episode of the Confidence Through Health podcast. If you need help with a website, if you need social media needs for your business, if you need help with AdWords, SEO, all those things that you know you should be doing but you are too busy to do or you're too confused about, they are the experts that you need in your corner. If you're interested in launching a podcast such as mine, they help me edit my podcast and do a fantastic job making sure that all of the technical side of it is handled and we launch a nice, neat, edited podcast episode each week. So I want to thank Social Media Cowboys for their continued sponsorship of the Confidence Through Health podcast. You can find them at socialmediacowboys.com, or you can find them as well with other sponsors at confidencethroughhealth.com. Howdy. Thanks for joining me with the Confidence Through Health podcast. My name is Jerry Snyder, and I appreciate you giving this a listen. Today I wanted to talk about the Sniffles. Where I live in Texas, it's a time of year where a lot of people seem to be sniffling. And I think this is pretty much common anywhere in the northern hemisphere because the temperature is changing as fall and winter are approaching. And when that temperature changes and you wake up and all of a sudden it's really cold, and then you go through time periods where it's cold in the morning and it's warm or even hot in the afternoon. And then the next day it's cold in the morning. And then, you get that northern wind that blows through and brings, not just the cold air, but it brings a lot of other things with it. The dying grass, you've got pollen, you've got all kinds of things that are in the air right now, molds and floating around. It's cold. Your nose is trying to stay warm. Your body's trying to stay warm. It's trying to heat the air that you're breathing in so that it doesn't chill your body too much or drop your core temperature too much. So you got a lot of things going on. And so you wind up with the sniffles because there's a lot going on around your nose. How can you handle that? And how can you not just take care of it, but prevent it? Is there a way to prevent the sniffles? And so there's a couple things you can do. These will work both as preventative, and once you get them, they'll lessen both the severity and the length of time that you have them. They're pretty simple because they've been around for a long time. It's not something new to the, earth-shattering or anything like that. So, and they can be done individually or in combination. You can try multiple of these at the same time, or you can try one at a time. You may find one works for you. You may find you need to do 2 or 3 of these things. So the first is simple because you don't need to do anything special. You don't have to go buy anything. You don't have to spend any money. All you have to do is change the way you're breathing. A lot of people in our society, in our world today, have moved from nose breathers to mouth breathers. And what you need to do is go back to being a nose breather. If you can get to where you're breathing through your nose more than 85 to 90% of the time, you're going to see a dramatic change in how not just the sniffles and how your nasal capacity works and your lung capacity works, but just in your life. You actually can get a lot of your metabolism goes through your lungs. And so you can expel a lot of toxins and you can actually burn fat through that process in your lungs, and you can expel that through your breathing. And so breathing properly through your nose most of the time actually opens up those passages and opens up that cavity, and it forces you to use it. And so it's not really like strengthening, but think of it as this, it's sort of strengthening that capacity, because it's not a muscle, so it's not like it's getting stronger, but it's functioning better because it's being used more often. And so what you want to do, if you think of it as you could think of it as a box, but you could do it at any like set of numbers. You want it to be the same number, but it's think about it. So you're going to breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, breathe out for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4. You can do it for 5, you can do it for 8, you can do it for however long you can hold it. But doing that through your nose with your diaphragm going down, don't do your chest up. So your diaphragm going down. So breathing through your nose more often throughout the day and trying to get in that rhythm will keep it something it's being used, and it's going to work to keep your sniffles down. Now, because if you breathe through your mouth all the time, you're not using your nose. And so your nose is going to get, in the wintertime, of course, you get mucus and other, you get all that stuff combining in there, and it starts to overtake. And then when you get a virus or you get something else that gets stuck in there, it's got a place to grow, and all of a sudden it gets infected, and then you're completely clogged up and you can't do anything because you're in so much misery because your nasal capacity, and then it goes into your sinuses, into behind your eyeballs and into your head. It becomes a sinus headache and sinus infection, and then it just snowballs from there. So what you want to do is keep that passage open. And the best way to do that is to use it by breathing through it and breathing through it properly. The next thing you can do when it comes to, are your sniffles driven by pollen or by grasses or by any of those types of things, is natural, local, raw honey. To take a spoonful of that every day. Consume it just right off the spoon. Just pour it in the spoon right off the spoon. Don't put it in your tea and stir it up and heat it up, because once it's heated, it changes the molecular, it changes the honey to where it's not going to work as well in your body. Your body needs to recognize that because it's coming from the pollen. It needs to be local because it's coming from the same pollen that is flying around in the air. So you want it to be within like 100 miles if you can, because it can blow pretty far, but you're going to get a good portion of the local pollen if you're within 100 miles. So the honey is being produced within 100 miles of where you live. And what it's going to do is it's going to teach your immune system that this pollen is actually okay. We don't need to attack it, because that response that you're getting if you're allergic to pollen is your body is saying, attack this, because it's trying to invade us and it's trying to kill us and it's trying to hurt us and it's trying to harm us. So your immune system is attacking that, and it tries to get it out of your nasal cavity and out of your sinuses. And so it produces a lot of mucus to try and capture it and get rid of it before it gets farther into your body. So teach your body it's okay by consuming that same type of pollen, and then your body's going to build up a resistance to it, and you're going to become immune to it. So it's not going to affect you anymore. The next thing you can do is when you exercise, try to exercise breathing through your nose. I know it can be difficult, but you need to exercise through your nose. It's going, especially if you've got the sniffles or you start feeling something coming on, you're going to get a lot of drainage. Blow it out. Just blow it out. Keep going through your nose. It may hurt and sting a little bit just breathing through your nose if you're not used to it, because you're going to be breathing a lot faster because you're exercising. But doing it through your nose is going to, again, just like breathing through your nose all the time when you're just doing things around the house or just working or whatever, it's going to build up that ability and that efficiency in your nose. So the next thing you want to do is when you sleep, making sure that you sleep with your mouth closed. So you can if you need to, if you know that you're a mouth breather when you sleep, you can tape your mouth shut with, don't use like, masking tape or something, but use a tape that is safe for, skin, because it's going to be on there for a long time. You could tape your mouth shut. It doesn't take a lot because it'll hold it. You can use a mouth guard because that'll help hold your jaw in the right place and makes it easier for you to breathe through your nose. But doing that forces your body to breathe through your nose at night, especially if you're starting to feel clogged up. You'll still breathe through your nose. It'll force you to, because the last thing your body wants to do is expire. And so it's going to do everything it can to prevent that. And so if you're expanding your nasal capacity by forcing yourself to breathe through your nose, that buildup of mucus is not going to be as bad. It's going to force you to do that. And so they're really simple things that you can try. Of course, if it's related to a virus, and we've probably all heard enough about viruses lately, but washing your hands, doing those things is that you're doing that to make sure that you're staying healthy is great. You can do nasal rinse. So those are great to do, whether you're doing a passive or if you're squirting it up in there. Either way, nasal rinses can be great as well to help clean out the sinuses and make sure that there's no mucus or anything hanging out in there. Because when you've got the sniffles, it's you're sniffling because there's mucus that's being created, and it's not sticking onto anything. It doesn't have any, and so it's dripping. So you can, obviously, you're going to blow it out. You get a Kleenex and you blow your nose. But if it keeps coming, then there's something that's causing that. And so it's address the cause. If you're just going to blow your nose all the time, you're just addressing the symptom. Address the cause. Try and stop the cause from happening and creating the sniffles that you've got. And so by doing one of these things, you should be able to see some relief. You should be able to see these sniffles go away, because there's not going to be anything that's going to be triggering that any longer, because your nasal capacity is going to be efficient in the way it works. And so there's not going to be something getting stuck in there that's going to trigger this sniffling mucus response that you normally would get at this time of the year. So if you're struggling with sniffles, you're struggling with that nasal capacity issue, you're struggling with any kind of sinus issue, try and do some of those things. And then, of course, the other thing you can do is take some sort of booster shot, meaning not a vaccine booster shot, but a booster shot of, say, ginger and lemon, or jalapeno and turmeric, or a combination of those. Just something really small, so a shot of it, and take that and do that, for a day or two to knock them out, and then do these other practices to make sure that you prevent them in the future. So that little booster shot should knock it out. You may have to do it once or twice, or a couple of days in a row, just depending on how bad it's gotten. But once you get it knocked out, try one of these other approaches to prevent them coming back, and you should see some relief and be able to make it through this fall winter season without having to grab the Kleenex every 5 minutes. Thanks for checking out the All in Health and Wellness Confidence Through Health podcast. Our goal is to use health as a conduit to help you reach your goals in life.
A little lighter than me. I'm about to black out. Her grip is getting tighter on me. I think I like it deep inside. I feel the fire in me. She like the milky, see me creaming to the coffee in me. She got soul in the sway.